Hello and welcome to Art Minutes. I'm Patricia Tomlinson, curator at the Appleton Museum of Art. Today I wanted to talk to you about a piece from our African collection. It is called an Akuaba, and it is by the Akan people of Ghana. These are really wonderful and interesting pieces because they're not simply statues. They have a deeper meaning, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that today. When we look at the basic form of the piece, we see a very round head with relatively flat forehead, very high forehead, and that is considered a beauty marker in amongst the Akan to have a high, somewhat flat forehead. As we move further down the piece, we see eyes that are carved. We see some marks on the cheeks that I will talk about later. We see some neck rings, and then the overall shape of the piece is basically a T. So we have two outstretched arms straight out. There are breasts, and then as we move a little lower, there is a very prominent belly button, and that is to mimic the prominent belly button of a newborn. Now, why would they want to do this? These pieces are considered to be helpful for one to bear a child. So if a woman is unable to have a child, she would go to a spiritual specialist, and that person would help diagnose exactly what she would need to do. And sometimes carving an Akuaba with certain features is what is prescribed, and then she would do that. She would then proceed according to the spiritual specialist's direction to carry it around in her hip wrap and take care of it as if it were a living child, in the hopes that that would eventually come to pass and she would indeed bear a child. So the protuberant belly button is evocative of that of a newborn, because this is ostensibly a newborn child. As we move up to the head area, we see several little holes drilled at the top, and then we also see some holes drilled sort of further down where roughly, if ears had been carved roughly in the ear area. And these were to hold jewelry, beaded items that are very important. Babies are often adorned with glass trade beads and things like that. So this child would have had those as well. As we look at the cheek marks that I mentioned earlier, these were scarification. They are used for both beauty and they are used for more healing purposes, depending. And then as we move further down to the neck rings that I mentioned, these are folds of fat. Amongst the Akan, neck fat rings are considered very beautiful, and it is desirable that women have them. Now, let's look at why this piece is female. All Akuaba are female. The traditional story behind why Akuaba were made is that there was once a woman who was unable to bear a child. She went to her spiritual specialist for help, and he prescribed that she carve this wooden childlike figure, carry it in her hip wrap, treat it as if it were a living child, and eventually it would come to pass that she would have a real child if she did this. Since she was the first woman to have ever done this, other people in her village didn't really understand. They poked fun at her and they teased her, but it worked, and she eventually gave birth to a healthy baby girl. And the name Akuaba means child of Akua. Since others saw that this worked, they wanted to do this too, so that started the trend of other women who could not bear going to their spiritual specialist and having these specialty items carved in order for them to have healthy children as well. Thank you for listening to Art Minutes, and I look forward to highlighting another piece from our permanent collection at the Appleton Museum of Art with you soon.